and plenty of sunshine. So take the sunscreen. And if you're running out of sunscreen, well, don't let it run dry because you still need sunscreen even into these late summer days where summer sun is still dangerous. We're going to talk a little bit about this right now on our Health Beat segment for this morning on WKZO with Dr. Peter Graham, Chief Medical Officer at Blue Care Network, and is with us this morning on WKZO. Dr. Graham, good to have you with us this morning.
Thanks, Ken. Good morning.
Appreciate your time this morning. Well, why is that late summer sun still a little bit dangerous? It seems to be a little lower in the sky. It might seem to some people that maybe it's not as dangerous as maybe the middle of summer.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're all starting to, like it or not, we're feeling a little bit of fall creeping in. The days are getting shorter. It gets a little cooler at night. That's kind of a risky period for sunburns and sun damage. Kind of lulls you into thinking, if it feels cool, it's not damaging my skin or I'm not getting a sunburn. Well, even if it feels cooler than it did in July, it's still possible with enough UV exposure to get a bad sunburn and increase things like skin cancer risk. Be as attentive to it in the fall as you would have been in the summer. And, we also start doing things outdoors that we weren't doing, like going to football games and, out to apple picking and those kinds of things. I know it's a little early for that, but anytime you spend outdoors, you're at risk, including at the beach and picnics and all those kinds of things.
Our guest is Dr. Peter Graham, Chief Medical Officer at Blue Care Network. We're talking about why sunscreen's still important to use even as summer is coming to an end. There are some odd thoughts about sunscreen that show up on social media from time to time. I guess sunscreen is no different than anything else we deal with in our lives these days. Are there certain things that you have found are on the internet that aren't necessarily true and could be maybe dangerous for somebody to follow?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a couple of misconceptions about tanning and sun exposure, and along with that, myths about what you can do to prevent it. First thing I'd try to myth bust a little bit is that the old thing about a quote base tan unquote, that doesn't really protect you. All base tan is telling you is that your skin has been exposed to UV light and has been damaged. That's what your skin does in response. And even for that, a pretty robust tan has an SPF value of about 3, which is tiny. It's not really protective of anything. The best way to protect yourself is with sunscreen. That's and appropriate clothing like hats and such. What's gotten across on the internet, a couple of kind of key myths that I'd bust if I could. One is that using sunscreen will prevent you from absorbing vitamin D. That's not true. The way sunscreen works, you'll still absorb vitamin D perfectly adequately. Another is that you can use kind of natural things like coconut oil applied to your skin. I think you and I are about the same age vintage, so I remember when people used to put coconut oil on their skin to try to get a deeper tan, not to protect themselves.
Oh yeah,
it won't help you. It's got an SPF of about 7, which is a little bit better than base tan, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not worthwhile. And also some things like ingesting watermelon juice. There have been a couple of other things around there. There's some great healthy things about watermelon, but it's not going to protect you from sunburn.
Oh my goodness, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, I don't know where these things come from. Last but not least, I think probably the most pernicious one is that sunscreen actually increases cancer risk. That is not the case. It's quite the opposite. There have been a couple of very small cases of manufacturer issues with contaminated lots of sunscreen. Those were recalled. This was years ago. But commercially available sunscreen is safe and effective, and I certainly won't do that. Last I'd throw in there is that, I remind people of color and people with darker skin tone, you're still at risk for all this, by the way. It's both sun damage and skin cancer risk and sunburn. So everybody needs to be mindful of skin protection.
So it's good to apply, and is it good to reapply at a certain point?
Absolutely. Particularly if you're outdoors when as I've said, it's cooler, but it's not cool necessarily, particularly if you're out doing things around the water. Sunscreen tends to wash off, or if you're sweating, it tends to kind of rinse off. So about every 2 hours, reapply. Or if you're really sweating heavily or in the water a lot, even more often than that. It certainly won't hurt you other than, lighten up your wallet a little bit. Try to get out of the direct sunshine if you can too, for some periods of time. You can kind of tie that to hydration breaks. That's a good way to do that. Like if you're working in your lawn or garden, get out of the sun for 10, 15 minutes. Just take a break.
All right, have fun in the remaining sun, but be smart about it. Sunscreen's still important, even as summer draws to a close. Dr. Peter Graham, our guest on our Health Beat segment this morning on WKZO, Chief Medical Officer at Blue Care Network. Thank you so much. Enjoyed our conversation.
My pleasure.